Hello, it is Tuesday, April 29th. It's about 5 p.m. It is another beautiful day in Tahoe, California. I just started my walk and you can kind of tell over there the clouds are getting really dark and I just heard thunder. So this walk might end up being cut short. I might need to end up sprinting back home if it ends up dumping rain on me. So last week I decided to spend some time looking into marketing stuff and just beginning to educate myself on what I should be doing or working towards when it comes to marketing and advertising and stuff like that. There's a lot of thunder in the background. It's the clouds are headed away from me, but this walk might have been a mistake right now. We'll see. So last week I began looking into a bunch of marketing stuff, just educating myself on how to do marketing, how to approach marketing, what's the best way to try to get more users when you're more or less starting from scratch. And I think I have a lot of resources to continue educating myself on that front. There's a lot of content about that. I don't have anything meaningful really to share on that front yet, though. I'm still very early on learning about that kind of stuff. I also ended up talking to some of my users and I got a bunch of feedback, a bunch of really good actionable feedback on some things that weren't working for people and or things that were just wonky that they didn't like, and spent the rest of the week on fixing that stuff. A lot of these items were items that have been in my backlog but just not prioritized. There's so much stuff in the backlog of my technical wish list for what I want to do the Linkadex, but I'm holding back for now on that to at least some extent because it's not what's best for the business. I can build features in a hole forever, but building features in a hole is not going to make Linkadex successful. What's going to make Linkadex successful is working on the correct thing, which is going to be more towards user acquisition and not constant feature development, at least for now, until I can get more users and then get more feedback, and then the feedback can help steer the company and the direction and help me prioritize things. But I've thought about a lot of the stuff that needs to happen, including some of the stuff that people started complaining about. I managed to pretty quickly handle a lot of the feedback that I got. Off the top of my head, when users are importing bookmarks, they used to have to manually reload the page before they would see the new bookmarks. That's janky. I know it's janky, but I hadn't prioritized fixing that. And then somebody complained about it and well, yeah, that of course makes sense to fix, and so I fixed it. I have so many things like that though, and it sounds obvious in hindsight, and that one I think is kind of obvious, even not in hindsight, but it's also part of the new user experience, and it's just, you don't want to right off the bat hit people with a janky experience needing to manually refresh the page. It's something I'm used to, but I'm a software engineer and I've been a web developer for 9 years. What's intuitive to me is not going to be intuitive to the average user. So also, it's been a long time since I've imported bookmarks. It's the kind of thing, at least for me, you do once when you initially load Linkadex or onboard to Linkadex, and then you never really do that again. So it had slipped to my mind as an obvious thing, but it is an obvious thing. People complained about it, I fixed it. I took a naive solution to it. I have a more complex fix for that kind of thing which is why I hadn't prioritized this yet, or at least part of the reason why. LinkedX works offline, and the way you handle the state management with that, coupled with the fact that you need to be able to sync data between devices. If I add a link on my laptop and then go to my phone, I should see that link immediately. But how do I do that while also allowing LinkedX to function offline? It's a little bit of a, it's not like it's not a simple thing to do. I don't want to get into the technical details of that right now, but I do have a plan on how to handle that problem. But it is like an involved technical thing. That's not going to be a small task, and getting it to work is one thing, but making it resilient is another. If your links start to get wonky because you're syncing from multiple devices and the state gets confused, that's going to be a really breaking experience. And so you have to do that right and deal with every edge case you can think of. And when you start dealing with that kind of like communication stuff and debugging issues that can happen with communication, like what happens if you only get some of the updates, not all of the updates? What happens if you lose internet while getting some of the updates? What happens if you get updates but the updates are somehow stale? What happens if somebody is on 2 devices at once and they add links from both devices at the same time and only one of those gets to the 3rd device? There's a lot there, and it's all solvable. Like all this kind of thing has absolutely been solved before. It's been solved 1,000 times before. It's not a new problem, but it is not as simple as, it's not like a simple problem to solve. So anyway, I just haven't tackled that yet. Nobody's complaining about it. And I'm going to sit on that until people start complaining about it, and then go from there. Maybe nobody ever will. Maybe the refresh button is enough, which is another thing that I did this week. In the past, you'd have to refresh the page to get to refetch your links. Now, there's also a refresh button, and you can manually click it and refresh your links. The same way Gmail works. Gmail is using, I think, probably webhooks in the background and syncs pretty consistently. But if you want to manually tell it to fetch new data, you can. Well, now LinkedX works the same way. I'm not doing webhooks in the background or polling or anything for getting updates right now, but you can refetch your links. So if you're on device 1, you add something, and then you hop onto device 2. You're like, where's my new link? You press refresh, you'll get it. It solves the problem. There's a lot of thunder right now. I also added a link from the web application to release notes and added a place in the blog that links back to the web application just to make that navigation easier, that was direct feedback from somebody. I also made it so that when you're uploading your bookmarks are now associated to the file that they were uploaded from. So, and the user can see that. So for example, if I upload a bunch of bookmarks today on April 29th, I on my account page can see, oh, I uploaded a file April 29th. And I see the status of it. Like, oh, this successfully imported. Or, oh, there's an error parsing. This is like a improperly formatted file. All that functionality already exists. But what I added was the concept of a code. So import files now have a code. Say ABCD. That could be a code. It's just a randomly generated code. It's not meaningful. Every link created from that file will have a tag, bookmark import ABCD, which makes it really easy for me to see which links came from that file. If I upload multiple files, each file will have its own code, its own unique code, and all of the links from each file will have a tag pointing you to which file that link came from. The goal there is that it'll help people keep track of what link came from what file, This will be especially helpful when people are importing bookmarks from multiple files, which I guess happens per user feedback that was happening. And or if you end up uploading the same file multiple times, you'll have a bunch of duplicates. And at least for now, it'll be easier for users to handle going through and handling duplicates. Long term, I will have a tool that handles duplicate links. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but it's been on my roadmap for a long time. But for now, this at least helps users handle things on their own. Lets them be self-sufficient, and that's always a good thing. I also changed the icon of tags to a literal hashtag instead of the dog tags to match the entirety of the rest of the internet. I don't know why I ever did dog tags instead of a hashtag, but that's fixed. And then I also renamed personal links to private links. Private links is a more appropriate name. Those links are indeed private. Personal I thought was a little ambiguous. Like personal could mean anything. Private is explicit that they are private, they are yours, and especially when then compared to public collections and or organization links, it's more obvious. You have your private links that are just for you, and then you have everything else, which are in some shape or form shared. All of those updates are now live. This week I've decided to wrap up public collections, so I'm jumping back into that, and I'm going to finish the feature. Most of the work on that I think has already been done. There is one more hard thing I have to figure out, which is how to make collections work with the existing UI. The way the link search and everything works right now is it all assumes there's a current user and fetches data based on the current user. With public collections, we're not going to have a current user, and that's going to require me to do some rewiring of how the front end is doing stuff. Not entirely sure how involved that's going to be. I haven't really scoped that yet. I'm going to be diving into that today. Hopefully it's not a big deal. Well, we'll see. I'm getting out of breath. I'm at like 6,000 feet of elevation. It's also so pretty. I'm going to take a quick side tangent to show off how pretty the lake is. Tahoe's got to be one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and this is my view right now. It is so gorgeous, and there's like thunder in the background. Oh, I just felt rain. I thought we were about to experience a torrential downpour, but the rain let up, so we're fine. Nonetheless, I'm going to wrap this video up. This week I'm going to be knocking out public collections. I'll try to get a MVP version of that out as soon as possible, not get too bogged down in that. And then from there, I'm hoping public collections will help me do some kind of marketing. As at the beginning of this video, like I'm still pretty new. I'm completely new to marketing stuff. But one thing I read that I really liked was the idea of your marketing should provide value, it should be valuable. I'm hoping with public collections I can maybe do that, have some ideas. We'll see. Proud of the progress I made last week. I'm excited to get public collections out, and I think that's going to let me do some neat things and just some stuff that I haven't done yet. And that's what I got for this week. Thanks for watching. David out.